Howdy, friends. It's Steve Depoe again with this week's real estate vlog for North Texas. Today, 1031 exchange. At my age, really? Good question. It kind of depends on all your mindset and your retirement planning and where you want to be at and what is it doing for you today. So you've owned your rental property for years, maybe decades, and now you're kind of wondering, is it worth a 1031 exchange? Is it still worth it? Okay. Even at my age. That's a smart question. And the truth is, it depends. I always like that one. The answer is it depends. So before we get started, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/at moving to Dallas, Texas. We also have a sister version of this called Texas Real Estate Answers. And in this one, moving to Dallas, you get all the vlogs that I've done. Probably something like five to 600 of them. On the other hand, with the Texas Real Estate Answers, we answer questions like, what's a contingent offer? Should I accept a contingent offer? When should I lower my price? Those kinds of things. It kind of gives you inside baseball kind of ideas about real estate. We appreciate you for doing this. We appreciate for you, and we thank you for supporting us and our YouTube channel. So, what's your overall timeline, investment timeline here? You could trade up to something that yields with the passive income, with a higher yield investment, newer property, and you could get a newer property in a higher demand like area. Okay, so if you've got a property someplace, who knows, and maybe the demand isn't that great, you could take the cost. If you've owned your property for decades, you've got a lot of equity in it. It's worth more now than it was, and you could roll all of that forward into another rental income investment. Okay. Um, the capital gains that you've also acquired now over those decades gets moved forward, and you don't have to pay those taxes, right now. So it's all good news. You could do this, and you could kind of up the ante and get more per month of passive income. It kind of depends, obviously, on what you want to buy, what the rates are, and what kind of equity you have. Okay. And maybe potentially, if you want to take money out of 401k to buy a better property, that's all part of it. I mean, you don't necessarily pay taxes on that 401k stuff either. Contact your financial planner and/or your CPA to make sure that I'm right. Tax exposure, you're probably sitting on a kind of a sizable unrealized gain if you've held your property for a couple of years. A significant capital gains bill is possible somewhere around the 15 to 20%. Texas does not have a capital gains tax, but the 15 to 20% is federal. Okay. And so you'll have to pay that 15 to 20% capital gains. The current administration is trying to do away with that. We'll see what happens, but there is a potential 20% capital gains tax on capital gains. Um, or like I said, you could take those capital gains and that equity you've earned and roll it into a new property. Estate planning goals. So all of this kind of in terms of, so Rose and I, like I've said before, are certified in real estate planning. And part of the real estate planning has to do with what your estate plan is and what your estate plan goals are. Okay. So if you're doing a 1031 now, may actually, by doing a 1031 now, may actually increase the value of what your heirs are going to inherit from your estate. That's preserved. Then that'll end up preserving more of your equity instead of paying it out on taxes if you were to sell it, outright, today. Lifestyle and energy level. So, if you're in your late 60s like me, or you're in your 70s or 80s, it might not feel worth it anymore, having a rental property and having to go through the care and maintenance of it. I've said this before in the last couple of weeks. We call it the four T's: toilets, tenants, termites, and taxes. Okay. And maybe you're just tired of those things. You just want to be done with it, and not have to worry about it anymore and just go out and enjoy life. Who could blame you, right? At the same time, you could turn this property into a family member or buyer financed kind of deal. And so what this means is, I explained this, I think, last week, is the buyer comes in and says, I want to buy this house. You become the bank. Okay. You sell it to them. They're going to do the maintenance. They're going to do all that kind of stuff. But you come to terms as to how much interest and all of that. And then they're going to pay you on a monthly basis. Maybe not for 30 years, maybe for 30 years. Who knows what kind of deal you can come up with. But you would sell it to them and sell it to a buyer, and then they would end up paying you on a monthly basis, basically mortgage. At the other hand, family members, you could use that equity that you have built up for family members uh, positively for your family members. What do I mean by that? Maybe you want to send the kids, your kids or your grandkids to college. Okay. Wedding planning, vacation properties, those kinds of things. And so you could use the equity that you have built up in your house for that, not your house, I'm sorry, your investment for those types of things. That's something to consider. Local market timing is always very important. 2025 saw continued slow growth. Maybe some, depending locally, maybe there were some dips, okay, but it wasn't tragic, okay. You could consider repositioning into a better neighborhood or better area with better long-term upside, okay. And so what that basically means is taking your house here, putting it into the 1031 exchange, buying another house someplace else or two, in a better area where the house would command better rent, better clientele, better families, longer term rents. Okay, and where then some of these things these four T's that you worry about today kind of go away a little bit. And then sell outright. You could also sell it outright, with the tax planning in mind. So I mentioned the 15 to 20% the capital gains taxes. You have to take that into consideration. It's important that we take that into consideration. I one time had a client who his initial investment was $150,000 like 50 years ago, and had a trailer park that he ended up selling for $4 million. Did not take our advice and ended up having to pay close to $1 million in capital gains taxes. His wife is still mad at him about that. That was like 3 years ago. His wife is still mad at him about that. So don't overlook the capital gains in your tax planning situation. Um, CPAs and financial planners don't always think about real estate and some of these things, like I'm talking about here, in terms of your long-term financial planning. And so it's important, if you're going to consider this, for the four of us to get together, your CPA, and us, and your financial planner, to talk about an overall holistic retirement planning picture, instead of just going kind of willy-nilly and having to send Uncle Sam, $1 million check. We don't want that. So in summary, hey, look, 1031 exchanges can still be worth it at virtually any age, but only if it matches your goals. If you want to keep growing your portfolio, defer taxes, or leave more to your heirs, the 1031 exchange is potentially the way to go. It's still one of the most powerful tools we have, in terms of investment and in terms of real estate. I think there's a fact out there, a factoid that more, I'm not sure whether it's millionaires or billionaires today, made their money through real estate than any other vehicle. So it's important to know. Next week, we're going to talk about the best neighborhoods in Denton, depending on what you're looking for. Kids, retirement, active adult, those kinds of things. We're going to talk about the best neighborhoods in Denton. Until next week, this is Steve with the Rose Realty Team. Take care.